Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me and my guest tonight, Caroline Day. I am very much looking forward to chatting with Caroline tonight and talking about how we can really create a restorative space so that we can have a timeout from time to time while we're doing the work of recovering from abuse. And tonight I'm going to start off by telling you just a little teeny bit about myself and how Caroline and I met, and then she's going to share with us her unique gift that offers a fresh perspective on the process of healing. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Rachael Grant, a sexual abuse recovery coach, and I work with survivors of childhood sexual abuse who are really just at that place where they're sick and tired of feeling broken and unfixable, and I help them let go of the pain of the past and finally feel normal. And you are more than welcome to come check me out at rachaelgrantcoaching.com to learn more about me and my program, Beyond Surviving. So now, Caroline and I actually go way back, and we initially met, I don't even remember what year it was now, but years and years ago, in the blues dancing world. So both of us love to dance, and blues dancing is just a little kind of partner dance that similar to like swing or salsa, this sort of thing, but to blues music. And I just was immediately enraptured with Caroline and her energy and her joie de vivre, and she has so much experience, so much life, so much to really say, and for all the time that I've known her, she's been building her own business and working as an interior designer and helping people really create beautiful spaces. She even helped me create mine when I moved into my new home in San Francisco. She came and helped me pick out paint and tile and all that good stuff. So I know from experience how she can really transform a space, and we have remained close friends. And as her business started evolving, she has really become like a designer with a twist, and kind of an interpreter of spaces and a space therapist, if you will. And she's drawing on 20 years of experience in interior design, Feng Shui, and dance. She really has this expert eye, compassion, and intuition that she applies when she's using her trademarked interior mapping system to navigate and transform lives. She believes that you can make an impact on your own life by recognizing and changing the relationship you have with your living and workplaces. And as Caroline and I talked about this and how her business was growing and changing and how the work that I was doing with survivors, we just thought, oh my gosh, how cool would this be to talk about how we can create safe spaces as we're going on a healing journey. So Caroline, welcome so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Rachael. What a beautiful introduction. I am so completely honored to be with you. And yes, we go back to 2008, you and I, on the dance floor.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a while back. And, Rachael, of course, has this beautiful energy and this healing energy. And honestly, I'm so honored to be on your lineup of guests because I've been following who you've been having on the program, and they're just so talented and wise and gifted with how they can help your people move forward in the healing work that they're doing. So I just am so grateful that you saw the power and importance of my work and how we could work together in the healing process.
Yeah, awesome. Well, absolutely. And I think there's definitely much to be said, and I can't wait to really explore this. And to get us started, what I would love is if you could just share a little bit of your story, a little more of your story, so everyone here with us tonight can get to know you a little bit.
Yes, terrific. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on the call. As a child of academics, we moved every few years across continents. I actually grew up in the East Coast, and we lived in Australia back and forth, and I attended 13 schools before there was email or affordable long-distance phone service. So really, friends were made, and there were many goodbyes. And I was grateful that my parents allowed me to close my bedroom door and just be alone in the space to reflect and to even grieve the loss of these friendships. And so I found a lot of solace in being in my own spaces that I had created for this healing process. So I was sent to boarding school from Australia for a year back to the United States, and though it was the last thing I wanted, I discovered modern dance there. And I really took to it. It was a total healing piece in my life to connect with my body and also with my innermost feelings. And in that 1 year, I was hooked. I was performing. It was just beautiful. And so I intended actually to become a dance therapist. But in college, I took to interior design because I had done all this packing and unpacking and was really good with space. While I believe there's a form of dance for everyone, and I'm sure, Rachael, you'd agree with that, I still continue to dance regularly, but I'm just as happy it's a hobby instead of my way of making an income at this point. So I went on and I graduated top of my class in interior design, and I was super ambitious and went to New York City and was quickly relegated to designing the CEO's offices, which were, of course, more personalized because I was able to really get my clients. Instead of being in big meetings and you're making decisions literally across the boardroom table, these were people who had specific needs and visions for their own office spaces. And then I went on to design residences, and so I've designed for hundreds of different personalities and different pocketbooks, and two of my favorite clients were the singer Diana Ross and the actor Wesley Snipes, and they were fabulous to work with.
Nice.
So I'll tell you a little bit more. Shall I tell you a little bit more of how I got to the Feng Shui pieces? Actually, so here I was designing for people, and it was mainly interior design, and that was great, but I really craved for there to be more meaning in my work, and I didn't really know what that meant. And then I stumbled on Feng Shui, and I understood that it was the missing piece, because Feng Shui is to people's spaces as acupuncture is to the body. So it looks at symptoms in people's health and life and identifies the problem or the obstacle that's held within. So then clearings are made so that you can manifest goals and create change, positive change in your life. So I've studied with several Feng Shui masters. I'm still dancing regularly, weekly, several times a week, and acutely aware of meaning and obstacles and health and energy in ourselves, and as they're reflected in our living spaces, I developed my unique interior mapping approach. And so really my work is about people feeling at home in themselves rather than about just a pretty space. So that's where all this began.
I love it. And I love that even though I've known you since 2008, there are bits and pieces in that story that I didn't even know. It's so awesome. And it's so wonderful how we find our way to our calling, right? To exactly the gifts and talents that we have to support people in really having the lives that they want and homes that they want to support all of that. And I'd love to hear more about the interior mapping. Can you describe that a little bit more for us and tell us what that's all about?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's my baby. Everyone wants to talk about the baby. Interior mapping, and I have a baby too, but we won't talk about him right now. It is an approach which aesthetically integrates intuitive Feng Shui with solid design principles, and including the dance awareness, so that we can address how people and energy fit and flow in our spaces. So interior mapping allows us to navigate layers of ourselves as we show up in our surroundings. I mean, often we can't see ourselves, and sometimes you want a different perspective, right, just to be seen. Oh, yeah. So it invites us to take an objective look at who we are and how we're seen. And it's a nonverbal kind of objective healing modality that beautifully supplements the difficult inner emotional processing. But the thing is when you're working with objects don't have emotions. So it's easier to create change with an object and have that be almost like creating an intention. You could say, you know, I'm really ready to open the doors to my life. I'm ready to overcome this pain of the past and being hidden. And so I'm going to create intention in front and around myself by changing the objects and the feeling of the surroundings that I'm living in. So our living space, if you change your living space, other parts of your life will follow. There's a wonderful quote. I don't know who said it. It's, as I cultivate my own nature, all else follows. So we can look at the emotional life of our homes and then consciously create change to manifest a particular goal that we have in mind. So I like to think of it as it's like celebrating the landscape of the human heart. It's designed from the very core of your being. And so I begin all of my work with my trademarked discovery profile. And it's several questionnaires combined to create the foundation of the work of meaning and change in our environments.
I love that. Yeah, and, you know, I think what really stood out to me from what you shared there is we sometimes, particularly for us survivors, and when we're in this, you know, journey of trying to figure out how do we heal and move on, it can feel like there's just so much to do in our interior house, so to speak. We've got a lot of interior remodeling to do, and I think it is often overlooked that sometimes the impetus for change, or what, if I understood you correctly, it's like as we can set things in our environment, it helps lead us into, it helps draw us into the thing that we're feeling called towards, or the things that we're wanting to really create or manifest in our lives. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
We can make so let's say you want to make a change in your space, to consciously maybe make an effort to be more social. Maybe you've been really removed and hiding yourself and fearful of being seen and going out. And we might make a change, any sort of change to say to yourself, okay, I am making this change. Like maybe I am putting this blue-colored vessel, beautiful vase or something, in my contemplation and enrichment area. as a way of building the symbolism around the change I want to actually create in my life. Mm-hmm. So every time I see that blue vessel in my environment, it's almost like a little piece of paper that has an affirmation on it, but it's built into your environment. Right. So it's very conscious at first, and then it just becomes subconscious, and it builds, and the layers, the meaning builds.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
And I know that you have done, you've been in this world of design and creating spaces for so many years, and with lots of, big wigs, so to speak, and little wigs.
But I love them all.
And it sounds like to me that at one point something kind of clicked for you, that it wasn't just about finding the furniture and the colors and the this and the layout, but there's this other piece. And having done this for a while now and been incorporating this element into your design, what are you noticing are the benefits of interior mapping?
Oh, that's a great question. What I find is this process really looks at the whole person. It looks at the person's past, present, and future. And it provides a clearing, a reframing of the familiar, and a deepening of our relationship to our surroundings. I like to think of it as design for growth. So, it's interesting. I had a beautiful meditation recently. I went very, very deep in this meditation, and I actually thought about all the love. Sometimes we can think about the love we don't have in our lives, and we can feel that pain of, I wish I'd had more love, or I don't have as much love as I would like, or whatever. We can get in this place of feeling we want more love. And I decided I'm going to sit and think about all the love I have had. And I had this amazing, almost like a movie going before me of people in my life, the faces of the people who had loved me, whether they were family or friends or real lovers, relationships. And I was so filled with love. And I got up and I walked through my own apartment, which is not a perfect apartment, It's not like newly decorated with all the latest furnishings or anything like that. I'm raising a 14-year-old boy. I'm divorced. I'm a single mom. But it's me. It's me. And I walked through the space and I felt wrapped in my own essence. I was able to see all my flaws, and I was able to see all my beauty, and it was so powerful. I was crying. And I thought, this is what I want to give to my clients and the people who work with me. I want them to see how beautiful they are just as you are, and have that reflected in your space, but ideally the best of you, so that you're not reflecting all the pain and all the sadness of the past. So I help people reveal the stories that are held in their belongings, and you can choose whether you're surrounded by positive stories or negative stories. So it's really interior mapping. One of the benefits is really it's a reframing of your story. It's a place to ground and reinvent yourself and draw energy. And you can create a place for growth and living and love and life. And the main goal is that you create a roof over your head, a space under that roof that provides absolute safety and comfort, that holds you wherever you are in your life. So that's where I'm feeling the benefits of interior mapping. That's my goal when I work with people, to give them that.
That's awesome. I love this because, one of the things that I talk about with my clients as we're going through the boot camp for the brain portion of the program is we talk about how the experiences that we've had, cause us to develop false beliefs, ideas about ourselves, about people, about relationships. And one of the ways that we start to heal is by recognizing those things, and I often call them stories. There are stories that we're walking around with, and I work on a cognitive neurological level to change those stories. And so I love, as you're talking about this, the idea of, boy, we can do that in a tangible space, you know, kind of a way. It's really, really powerful.
That's the word, tangible. That's the word. In fact, I'd love to share a story about when I was with my husband, and I was in love with my husband, and as things often do when you have a child, your relationship changes, and you know, things were a little stressed, but I thought we were just going to go through the thick and thin of marriage. And he looked at me. He was making tea one day, and I looked at him. And I said, I love looking at you. And he turned to me and he said, I wish I could say the same. And he started sobbing. And in that moment, I knew he had made up his mind to leave. I just knew it was such a deep response that he had been off in his own world figuring this stuff out. And it went through a series, probably the darkest time of my life when he left. And a friend came over one day and she said, oh my God, your place feels dead. And she said, you, of all people, you know, you're doing this energy work, you're doing the interiors, you know, what happened? And my plants that I'd had for 20 years were almost all dead. My fish had died. You know, seriously, things around me were dying, right? So I thought to myself, okay, I'm doing the deep inner emotional work of grieving and getting over the pain and moving on and all that, which does take a lot longer, as we all know. But I thought, I am not going to let this orchid that I have had with me for 20 years, I'm not going to let it die. And so I took the steps outside of myself. I took the steps to take it to a plant, you know, a garden, and have it repotted. And it started growing. And it gave me hope because I saw it growing and I thought, okay, I'm going to grow. I'm going to grow with this orchid. I'm not going to let it die. And it blooms for the first time in 7 years. A gorgeous bloom. And so that's sort of just an example of how we can make changes in our environments that give us the strength and the courage to do the harder work and to believe in ourselves and to move on. That's just a small example.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Caroline. And I can relate to that in very, very particular ways as well. And I remember there was this moment when I divorced and I had moved into my new space, and we were still kind of wrapping up some of the, you know, nitty-gritty details. And he was like, oh, well, I'll just come by and, you know, we'll have a chat. And I really had this moment of like, no. No, this is my space. And I don't want any of that energy here, right? And it was me creating a new sanctuary, and coming into a new self and coming into a new chapter of who I was in my life. And I know that a lot of the work that I do with survivors of abuse is about that. And I know you have a couple of things that you'd like to recommend specifically for survivors that they can do to really free up the energy in their space to really support them. Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
Yes, and I have a list of these simple changes to free up some energy, and they'll sound very basic perhaps, but then you can actually ask yourself if you have done these, because it's quite often that I'll go into someone's space and they might be in the place where I was when my husband left, where I could only see inside myself and I wasn't able yet to reach, to go beyond myself. So, yeah, these might give you a sense of some simple things that can really make a big impact on your day-to-day. So one of them is to feel safe in your home. You can hang a bell or a chime on the front doorknob, on the inside of the front doorknob. And what it is, it's a gentle alert to let you know when someone is entering. And hopefully it's someone you want in there and to see, and it's a welcoming little jingle, just like a dog greeting you at the door. But it's also a way of just feeling like it's going to give you an alert if someone comes who you don't want to be there. And it can be a pretty little piece, too. It can be a nice little focal point. For a burst of really positive energy, I like to kind of say, greet the day, as I open my curtains and I let in natural light every day. When we're down, when we're feeling depressed and we want to hide, it's very common that we stay closed behind the closed windows all day long. And so I invite you, if you're at that tender place, I invite you to start opening the curtains. And then for your space to be particularly healthy, I invite you to open the windows, even on a cold day, for fresh air to come through your space weekly at least. As a minimum, open your windows every week, and you'll just move out all that stagnant air and bring in the fresh air. And another thing is, especially in San Francisco, there are so many opportunities for using non-toxic cleaning detergents. So whether you're cleaning your carpet or you're washing your clothes or anything, please try to think about using detergents that are good for Mother Nature. They're also better for your own health, okay? And then a more beautiful piece of this is to bring in signs and symbols of nourishment and abundance. So you might just put out a bowl of fresh fruit, put it in a nice place where it's visible. You can have plants, of course. You can have pets. And so Gandhi, I love this quote from Gandhi, and he said, where there is love, there is life. So if you have these signs of abundance, it's signs of love, and you can bring that feeling back into your life. So these are simple tips, but I assure you that if you change nothing about your aesthetic, these will change the energy in your space right away.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I love that it's simple, because sometimes when we have so much turmoil on the inside and there feels like there's so many things that need to be worked out and changed and fixed or dealt with, having just very small, simple, doable things is really, really powerful. So thank you so much for those. And as you were sharing that, Caroline, I mean, I definitely, went back to a time in my life where I felt like my space was my only safe space, but it also wasn't feeding my spirit. It was too closed off. It was too removed. It was too isolated. And I definitely remember as I started healing and feeling better, I wanted that light to come in. And I wish I had, heard this back then and just, let the light in first. Do it first.
Yeah.
And enjoy that. You don't have to be all the way in to the other side before you can bring a little light, bring a little love, bring a little life
and confront the fear of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very simple way of taking the first step to confronting whatever fear you have of being seen. And right, exactly. And I'd love to give 3 special tips on how to really create a restorative space for time out. And these are kind of some general tips for anyone, really. I mean, true transformation happens when you're able to see and address your own specific issues and your own story that's held in your belongings, and make very personalized changes in your surroundings. And that's all really exciting, and you can go really deep with that. But I'd love to share 3 things that people have found are aha moments for them when I go into their space and I start talking about what they can do. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, that totally makes sense. So one of these special tips, one of these special tips is take photos of your family out of your bedroom. And even if the kids, we adore our kids for the most part, and we might even adore our parents or whatever, but a lot of people have very complex relationships, right? So it might not be a steady, adoring process. And so I like to feel that your bedroom is your sanctuary. If you want photographs of your family around you, have them in any other place of the house. But when you go into your sanctuary, it's where you restore, it's where you might have intimacy, sex, it's where you can relax. It's all these things that are about you. It's all, your bedroom can be, and really should be, although I don't like the word should, but all about you. So, and you don't want to be reminded of your complex relationships when you're there. Another of my special Caroline Day tips is to address all of the senses. So I've given an S word to each of the 5 senses. So we have sight. So you might want to look at art, plants, or color. There's sound. So you can have music, you can have silence, you can have water, a small water fountain. You might hear the birds, open the window to hear the birds, especially with spring coming. Scent. What does it smell like? Does it smell like Tide detergent? Hopefully not. You want fresh, clean air. You want, if you have a cat, you ideally will not smell the kitty litter when you first come home. And you can also use natural aromatherapy. So that's some ideas for scent. And then sip. So for taste, right? You could have tea or water or wine. Just have your senses start coming alive. Remember what they feel like when you're really in touch with all your senses. And then for touch, I have sensuality. So you want your body to feel comfortable. So look at the temperature of your space. Is it too hot? Is it too cold? And think about where you sit. Is the fabric on your skin from your sofa, is it comfortable or is it sort of scratchy? What materials touch your skin? So, even comfortable chairs and things. You want to treat yourself. You might be at a delicate, if you're on this call, it's possible you're at a delicate place in your life and you want to treat yourself. That you're as special as you are, and these are simple things you can do to feel special. And then it's wonderful if you can create a special place for reflection and even meditation. I meditate every day. I have for many years, and it goes very, very far in any clearing or healing process or healthy process that you're committing to. So I just wanted to share those because you made your way on this call, and hopefully you'll be able to benefit from some of these changes.
Absolutely. And, I think the heart of that and what I so love about it is, look, folks, if you've been abused and, you're trying to find your way, out of the hurt, out of the troubles, it takes it takes something. It takes some work. It takes time. It takes, focusing on things. And, man, it can really start to take over our lives, where we can feel like we're spending every day, all day on recovery. And so I love this little gentle reminder that we can take time outs, the good kind, not the you're bad and you're in trouble kind. Yeah, that we need to step away, and it's okay. We can come back to the troubles tomorrow or in the next 5 minutes, but creating little moments or taking a space for yourself where it's not all about, what's wrong, what's broken, what needs to be dealt with, what's not going right. And I love this, sight, sound, scent, sip, sensuality. I mean, how cool. I mean, you can really just take 5 minutes and just stop and go, what do I have for sight? What do I have for sound, et cetera? And just that little moment of, reprieve and restoration, I think is so powerful. So thank you. And I would have never really thought about the photos, and I thought that was really brilliant, and really is important, because especially if, your abuser is a family member, there's duality there, right? It's complex relationships. There are family, and there's someone who's hurt us. So I love this idea of creating, a sanctuary where we can just be. So awesome. Now, I love everything that you've shared with us tonight, and we're going to get to the Q&A in just a moment, because I know people are probably, what about this and what about that, and how do I handle this? So we're going to take advantage of all of your yes. And before we get there, I'd love for you to share with us a little more about how people can reach out to you and get connected and take advantage of your interior mapping and all of that you have to offer.
Great. Thank you so much, Rachael. Well, because you're one of Rachael's listeners, or you may be someone that I brought to the call, and now you get to meet Rachael, and she's splendid. I have a special offer because I'm very interested in talking with people one-on-one. If you'd like to speak with me one-on-one, I'm offering an Out of the Darkness session. And this is a 1-hour call. It's worth $297. But as a gift for being on the call, it's totally complimentary. And I would really love to talk with any of you and see if you're interested in deepening the work, or if you can just get some more tips and ideas from the call itself. So the way you can go about that is you can send me an email at carolinewday@gmail.com, and that's CarolinewDay, like daylight, @gmail.com, or you can call me directly at my office at 415-786-4468 during regular business hours. So that's 415-786-4468. And the email is carolinewday@gmail.com. And please, I invite you to go to my website, which is simply carolinewday.com. So I really encourage you to find out more about interior mapping. It's really beautiful, exciting work, and I am seeing how it's transforming people's lives. And I'm loving the work. So I welcome any of your questions if you
so you ready for that? Okay. So, one quick question. I'm going to do the first question. If people are not in San Francisco Bay Area, can they still take advantage of this 1-hour call?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I have a special way of working with people via Skype, and so we can talk on the call about how that can happen. So, I can see and feel your space and feel your energy by working via Skype as well as by being actually in your space. So please, I encourage you, yes. Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right, good to know. And all right, folks, well, so we're going to open up the lines now for Q&A. And if you missed any of the how to get in touch with Caroline information, don't worry. I'll be sending that in a follow-up email after our call tonight, along with the recording of tonight's conversation. So you'll be able to follow up on that. And absolutely take advantage of this offer. I mean, Caroline has graciously given this, giving her time and her talents to support you. So don't miss out on that. There's no obligation. You can call in. And I have to tell you from my personal experience, working with Caroline, it's just I love my space. I love walking into my home. And it's just, so she's magical, and we don't want to miss out on the magic in life.
Thank you. I want to be magical. I'll take that.
Yeah. So,
thank you,
all right,
Rachael.
for the, you're more than welcome. All right, so for the Q&A, here's how it works. In order to come on the line and speak with us, you're going to need to press *6. Then you'll be prompted to press 1, and that'll put you into the Q&A queue, and I'll see you there. And I will be calling on you by the last 4 digits of your phone number. If for any reason you would like your comments or questions to be edited out of the recording, then please just state that, and I'll make a note of the time, and then I will delete or edit your comments out. And if you, for any reason, feel more comfortable sending your questions via text, you can do so. You can text 650-283-5215. Again, it's 650-283-5215. So you can text me there, or you can press *6 to talk with us live. Okay, let's go with the first question. 1850. Hi there. Just make sure you're not on mute on your own side. Can you hear us there? 1850.
Oh, I can now. My phone finally worked for me. Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
No worries. Hi there.
Yes. All right. Yeah, so I am going through the process of separation and divorce, and as I'm getting ready to go through all of my belongings and the stuff that we've owned together for the last 18 years, a lot of stories come up behind all these objects, and so I'm looking for tips and ways to, how can I look at these objects and process them to move them along or to put them in different places. I'm assuming that because I would really like to be conscious about it. I don't want to just shove it all in a storage space or throw it away and then regret that years later. So I want to be thoughtful about this process before I start.
That is a fantastic question and a very, very common situation. I actually have a special approach to belongings that I call my phasic approach, and it is part of a deeper process, what I would just say, that helps you decide which pieces to keep and which pieces to let go. I would say that, of course, probably just about everything right now is filled with story and possibly weight and some confusion. And you ideally would store most of these things, a lot of these things, out of the way for the time being, so that, as you say, you don't want to maybe get rid of wedding gifts or things that down the road, when some of the emotional clearing has come, that you might regret having the memory or the story even that the belonging holds. But for now, while you're raw, I would say try to keep the pieces that are definitely giving you a good story, a positive story, keeping your energy open and loving and gentle. and not jarring. I mean, things that are going to make you cry the minute you look at them are not necessary around you right now. Even if you have blank spaces on your wall, think of it as a fresh canvas, and things will come to those spaces when they're ready to come. You can even do things very inexpensively. Find out who you are now is what I would suggest in your new place. Think about, this is a time to really start seeing who you are as an individual without being connected to that person that you've been connected to for 17 years. And you might be surprised to see what your likes and where your likes and dislikes lead you. And you will start unraveling your own personal essence. So that's how I would begin. Does that help you?
Yes, it's true. Thank you. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that question. And I think that I really love what you said there, Caroline, about allowing yourself to just set stuff aside for a time. And we don't have to figure it all out right this minute, right? Like you can just move things away. Pay attention to what energy, it's almost like hot cold.
Yes, exactly.
And if it just has too much energy around it, just put it away for a while and really keep those things there. And I know that, for me, it can kind of be like both a scary and an exciting process, because there's this feeling of, well, who the hell am I? I've been this person and this wife and in this relationship for all these years. Your identity is so connected to the journey of that relationship, and this opportunity to find yourself in this, in this moment in time, and who you want to be and how you want to step into what's next for you, and taking your time with that, being gentle with yourself in that. Really beautiful.
It's a beautiful time to be able to recreate yourself. And I'll just say one more thing. I love the hot-cold. It's also a yes-no. And you can breathe into the object and feel in your gut, are you all turned up by that object? And it's probably a no. If it's kind of really giving you an emotional, physical response, it could be a no. If it's making you feel lighter, it's a yes. So great question. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And the other thing that I'll say real quick before we take the next question is just that I also love this moment of let it be blank. Because I know for me, there were things I definitely tucked away, like the wedding photos and all that. And my first week in my new apartment, I literally slept in a sleeping bag on the floor. And that's a whole lot of blank, but so you don't have to be that extreme. But there was this part of me that didn't want to rush ahead to just grab a hold of things and put things in there and, just fill up the space again. It was I wanted to just pause for a moment. So I love that you referenced this idea of if there's a blank wall, just let it be a blank wall for a moment and see. And that I loved what you said. Whatever's supposed to be there, it will come. It will find its way to you, and those spaces will fill up again. Really beautifully said.
It's a beautiful time to be able to recreate yourself and get rid of all the shoulds. I used it once before early in the call, but I really don't like that word. Don't think to yourself, I should do this, I should do that. Just be really open with yourself and creative with this next chapter of your life, because you never know. It could be the best chapter.
You never know. It certainly has been for me. My goodness, at the end of the day, thank goodness that didn't I didn't end up staying there in that relationship. And I very much know I wouldn't be doing what I do today if I had stayed in that relationship. So absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's take our next question. Hi there.
Hi.
2281. Go right ahead.
Are you there?
Just make sure that you're. Oh yeah, hi.
Hi. My name's Therese.
We can hear you.
My question is.
Hi, Therese.
My question is about transitioning into an empty nest when the kids' stuff is still everywhere, and one girl's in college, one girl's moved out post-college, but I'm just having trouble finding my own space because everywhere I look, their stuff is still around me that I don't yet know, if I should part with, and I can't make them get rid of everything yet, and so it just feels like I'm in limbo. There's not going to be kids again. But I have this whole former life as a teacher, and I think I tutor privately, but only a little bit, and so I save things that I might need and might be able to use, but I don't use hardly any of it, and I've got these old, even VHS stuff there. I might exercise with them someday, but I haven't been motivated to do that, and so there's all this stuff that is taking up space and energy that is no longer being used. But
Great. I have all sorts of things I'm jotting down as you're speaking. It's really interesting to work with transitions. What I like to say is that with my son, at the end of every year, we look at I save absolutely everything of his throughout the year. And then at the end of the year, like at the end of December, we have a yes-no session. And we sit there, and he goes through, he's actually so good at it now because he's been doing it since he was about 5 years old, seriously, where I say to him, I'd like you to choose what matters to you now that you've lived an extra year of your life, what's really mattering to you, and what don't you care about. And so I allow him to yes, no. That's all it is. It's a yes or it's a no. It gets kept or it gets whatever, recycled or thrown away or whatever it is. And that gives them some power. My parents actually, in one of the many moves, they sold some of my things from my childhood that were very special to me. And they didn't know. They didn't have any idea what those things meant to me. So I think it's first start with that step so you can have the peace of mind that you're not removing something that is really going to hurt your children. And so you're creating open communication there and understanding. Another piece is how, it's important to learn about how you're feeling about the empty nest. It sounds as though there's a little bit of excitement that maybe you'll become a teacher again because you're saving some of these materials, and there's possibility there. So I would say really sit with yourself, whether you meditate or contemplate or reflect or whatever you want to call it. Consciously address your future and what your goals are, and see what it is that you want to feel in your home. Are you feeling exhausted from the kids being around so much that the way you're going to have clearing is to really clear out all their energy, or is there sadness and so you want to keep some of it? It just depends how you are feeling about this next stage of your life as an empty nester. It could be an opening, or there could be fear around it. So, coming into the emotions you have about your future are very important before you can actually decide what to do with your belongings. It'd be great to have a call with you, Therese, and, go into this in a more personalized way.
Okay.
Is that helpful at all?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Because I certainly, the whole thing is I don't assume anything about anybody. So I wouldn't just say get everything of the kids' energy out of your space. It's not that simple. I would want to ask you more questions and think about what you want to create for your life and how you want to what kind of space you want your kids to be able to come back to. And another very important question is, are any of their rooms that you would ideally like to turn into your workspace with your work materials? And that would be a question of permission. So there has to be communication around. But it could be that you need one of those rooms and you could set up a fantastic, creative, inspiring workspace for yourself.
Sounds good. Thank you. And I will call you.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Oh, drives me bonkers that it says that. But you are, I think really hit the nail on the head. And I love what you said there right towards the end. Like, every single person is unique. And we can think that, well, if I'm going through this transition, it's just get rid of it all or throw it all away or clear it all out, or finally I get to have that study that I've always wanted. But it is. There are more layers to that, I think. And so I'm really excited that Teresa's going to connect with you and explore that more deeply, because it's tricky. I mean, it really is. And I think that one of the treasures for me of having this conversation with you is it's helping me to think more deeply about the interconnectedness of how we move in our space. You haven't talked a lot about the dance aspect of it, but as you were talking about, the image that came to mind, knowing, dancing and how you dance and these sorts of things, that it really is also like about how the physicality of our space and how we can move through those environments and what kind of, where we feel I'm thinking of it as lead and follow, right? And this image of like having this like object in the window that says, this is where I'm going, and that it leads you to something, and you can just follow it, right? You don't have to think about it.
I love that. That's brilliant. I love that analogy, Rachael. Yes, because you put it there with some little seed of hope and possibility, and then it keeps guiding you. So you get on the dance floor, and then, just getting on the dance floor and then a good lead takes you further than you even thought that you were going to be able to go with that first step. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah, so cool. So cool. So are there any, so I have a question. And folks, you can text me, 650-283-5215, 650-283-5215, or press *6 to come on the line and ask your questions. Okay, so the world of Feng Shui, for some of us, is very, like, woo-woo.
Yes.
Very, like, oh, you're supposed to have, like, a mirror over this and that over there. Are there any, like simple Feng Shui things that if people really love this and are, like, really curious about how objects and placement and mirrors and these sorts of things generate energy, and I may be totally simplifying it. I'm sure I am.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm sorry. What did you say?
Yeah. Well, I was just wondering if there was any, little things like that people can immediately, in addition to the wonderful tips that you've given us, but specifically in this kind of bucket, that you could share with us.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, I have to admit, ladies and gentlemen, that I didn't want to say I did Feng Shui for a long time, because I think for some people who even know the slightest bit about it, it conjures up little trinkets, and that you hang a crystal or you hang an octagonal mirror in a particular place, and it's going to change your entire life. It's oversimplified. And being a designer, what I'm cautious of is this is the most important thing, is that I want to walk into your space, Rachael, and I want to walk in and I want to be like, oh my God, this place feels so fantastic. it has so captured Rachael in her truest essence, and it's just so beautiful how it's captured Rachael, as opposed to walking in and seeing a Feng Shui mirror or a Feng Shui crystal or a flute or whatever, or a red door, and saying, oh, this place has been Feng Shuied. So that's why my way of working is to integrate your personal belongings and the meanings that you have, that you've given to your belongings, not that I've given or some practice has given to your belongings, the meanings that you've given to your belongings and how it is integrated into the aesthetic. So I'm not looking at your abundance corner and there's, a couple $100 bills glued to the wall or something. It's not so. You don't want to be so obvious. You want to create the intention. However, there are certain Feng Shui cures, they're called, that I love, and one of them is a mirror behind your stove. And this can serve, if you have a stove that's up against the wall, if you put a mirror on the wall, it serves a functional cure, kind of, and that is that you can be cooking and look in the mirror and have a conversation with someone that you have your back to. But it was designed symbolically to reflect the burners on the stove. And that way you're doubling the nutrition and the abundance of the household, because it's like the hearth. So I absolutely adore that Feng Shui tradition of putting a mirror behind the stove for those very reasons. So that's a really fun tip.
I like that.
Also when Feng Shui was first created 4,000 to 6,000 years ago, we didn't have indoor plumbing, and any sort of stagnant water is considered bad. So the toilet generally is negative energy any which way you look at it. So especially with our drought, and I'm hoping some of you are keeping your water mellow, so that you're not flushing every time to save some water. But you can keep the lid down so that all your energy isn't going down the toilet. But I also, on the back of my toilet, I have these 4 beautiful just Japanese stones that you can, that sometimes you see in planters and things. They're shiny and they're black and they're beautiful. And black is the symbol of water. And water, when it is in its cleanest, purest form, is the symbol for money. So if you want to bring money into your life, you want your water to be flowing freely, and you want it to be clean. So bringing in the color black or the symbolism, something to remind you that you're actually trying to counteract the effect of the water being in the toilet and being flushed down with all the waste and everything, you can do something simple like that.
Oh, I like that. Oh, thank you for those little tips. Oh, those are so fun, and just little teeny things like that can make such a huge difference. So really, really nice. Awesome. All right, so folks, we're here and happy to stay on the line if you have other questions. So I'm just going to do a final call, and so don't miss out on this opportunity if you have. And, sometimes I know, having done this for a while, people sometimes get into their heads about it, like, oh, my question's not that important, or, I don't want to take up any space or take up somebody's time. But as best you can, those are just stories that might just be stopping you and blocking you from, getting some support and care tonight. So if that's what's coming up for you, I really encourage you to just set that aside for the moment and raise your hand by pressing *6. And or maybe you guys just feel like you got everything you needed for the moment and are feeling good and full and filled up with lots of great information and ideas. And so certainly know that if a question pops into your head as soon as we get off the phone, because isn't that the way that it always goes, you can always reach Caroline via email, carolinewday@gmail.com. You can email me directly, coach@rachelgrantcoaching.com, and I can certainly try to answer if it's something in the world of recovery. If it's in more in Caroline's wheelhouse, then I'll get you connected to her. So, Caroline, I want to just take a moment here.
Any of your questions. I'm just, as Rachael says, no. And I wouldn't consider any question foolish or stupid. I'm really fascinated by how people think about their spaces and also by what people don't know even, how their space can help them and support them in your healing journey. Yeah. So, I'm really happy to welcome your questions. I can give something. There's another tip that I would love to share, and that is when you wake up in the morning, think about what is the first thing you see when you wake up in the morning. Is it something nice? Is it something pretty? Is it a view? Is it a painting? Is it a plant? Or do you wake up and you see the laundry basket overflowing and you see your desk just absolutely covered in papers? Or, just think about what the first thing is that you see when you wake up, because it's actually the last thing you see when you turn off the light. And it's going to affect your attitude about the day, and it's going to affect your sleep when you go to sleep. I can share an interesting story about a client who hired me. She was actually doing some work at the White House, and she said, I am working so hard. I'm just working so hard, and the more I do, the more they give me, and I'm just serving and serving and serving, and I'm never replenished. I'm never getting any fulfillment, and I want a relationship, and I'm just serving. I'm exhausted. I'm overworked, all this. So I went into her bedroom. You'll never believe this. She had an original World War II poster of a nurse on it. So it was literally about 3.5 or 4 feet tall by about 2.5 feet wide. And it literally said, serve. And she had no realization that there was a connection between the feelings she was having about her day to day. And so it was a valuable poster. So I didn't suggest just getting rid of it, but I suggested taking it out of her sanctuary and just putting it in the hallway, which is sort of a transition space. It's not where you go to restore your energy. And her whole life started opening up, and she started asking for more for herself, and she started sleeping better. And it was completely unconscious that she had that at the bottom of her bed. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that story. And it's a great representation of how just little shifts, can make a huge difference. And let's take the next question. I think we might have a follow-up question.
Okay, great.
Hey there.
Hi. Yeah, you do have a follow-up question. So as I'm clearing out out of the relationship stuff, I'm going to be welcoming in a roommate who's a guy who doesn't have a bunch of stuff, which is great because I do. We're also he was an exchange student. I studied abroad. We both really enjoyed that, and so we talked about having a third person move in with us as an exchange student, ideally college-aged. And I want to be welcoming. I want to create a space where other people feel safe as well, and that they feel welcome, and that they're warm, and that they can sit on the furniture, and they can take their shoes off, and they can watch TV, they can do whatever they want. And and I want to be able to create that. And what kinds of things could I do to help create that?
Good question. Yes. Of course, if I saw your space, I'd be able to say specifically how to create a layout with your existing belongings that would be the most welcoming layout. So generally, I can only address that you want to make sure that a sofa or something does not have its back to a door. So you can actually think of objects as occupying a room the way people might. So if you were entering into a party or something and someone were standing with their back in the doorway, it would not be welcoming. So you want furnishing to... Hello?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I was just... That's awesome. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'd never thought about that.
Yeah. So, it's funny because I have... growing up in Australia, I have a sheepskin rug in my son's room and next to my bed. It's what I stand on when I get out of bed. It's very typically Australian. And I have a housekeeper come every 2 weeks, and she always faces the back legs of the rug to the door. And I always turn it around. So the head of the rug is what you first see when you open the door. So it sounds silly, but it is a way of building the intention in your space for everything to be welcoming. So let's see. So you want to also think about your focal point. That's just a typical interior design trick, except it's also an energy piece. So when you're sitting in any lounge seating where it's a joint space where you'd all be sharing this space, what are you actually looking at? Are you just looking at a television, or are you just looking at, think about what you're looking at. And wherever you are, focal points can be very powerful. They can be welcoming. They can be energizing. They can be soothing. It depends what you want. Also, you might want to have a set of towels that is, each person gets their own set of towels, for instance. So they can connect with, a particular color or something. So when you're, I don't know, it depends what's going on in your space. But there are specific things. And certainly the day that someone comes in, it's beautiful to just put in a few cut flowers to welcome them. And, my mother always did that for me when I'd come home from being overseas or whatever. She would always, and still does, put 2 little buds or something in a vase, and it just shows intention of welcoming. So, but certainly I would be able to Skype your space and tell you exactly what to do to make it totally inviting, but off the top of my head, I need to know more. And lighting, lighting is something that's often overlooked, and it can create intimate, welcoming pools of light. So ideally you don't have just a center light. A center ceiling fixture is literally a general light that's supposed to be used for cleaning. Or if you've forgotten your keys, you just click it on. But it's not supposed to be a kind of light that you would sit under without it being tempered by a light that's more in the space, like a standing lamp or a table lamp, which creates warmth actually around the people occupying the space. So those are
Wonderful.
A few things. Think about the lighting, think about the furniture placement and the views, and great. Oh, did you want to give your name or no? I wasn't sure if you wanted
Megan.
to give. Oh, Megan. Okay,
Megan.
You were the first call, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Thank you.
I got it. You're welcome.
Megan, did you have something else you wanted to ask?
No, that was great. That
No, that was good. Okay.
Good tool. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. Yeah, perfect. Well, we're just starting to come into the last 10 minutes or so of our time together tonight, folks. So, again, if you have any lingering questions that you'd like to get answered tonight and to connect with Caroline while we have her here live and in the flesh, just press *6. And but why don't we go ahead and we'll give people a minute here to wrap up. And but I'd like to go ahead and just hear, Caroline, any final thoughts? If there was, maybe bottom line, what you most hope people, kind of take away from our conversation tonight.
Absolutely. Well, this work of interior mapping is something I'm truly passionate about because it's a joy for me to be able to combine three areas of my life that I have consistently explored and gained experience in for over 20 years, and that's, again, interior design and Feng Shui and dance and yoga health. So I think of myself as being able to open up people's spaces, and I open people to their spaces. And the way I see it is that openings bring clearings, so I can be a catalyst for the personal growth that you have brewing within. And that, to me, is how to concisely say what I do and what I'm passionate about. And while healing from trauma requires inner work and strength and support, of course, my work helps you make those tangible. That's the word you used, Rachael, and it was perfect. It helps you make those tangible and immediate changes within your surrounding with objects, since they don't have emotions, so that you can, it's like you're telling yourself, I'm ready. I'm ready. Even if you're, healing inside emotionally takes time. But to say to yourself, I'm ready, is huge. It's the first step, and it can be made very, very simple when you create intention around whatever change you're making with your surroundings. And so the changes are visible and progress is clear. And so when you see progress, it helps you build the confidence around what you can and are actually doing for yourself toward your healing. So I just really invite anybody, to change your space and release the things in it that hold you back from being in your essence and literally living in your potential. And I hope you'll help me by doing some of this work that I'm so passionate about and spreading this approach. Awesome. Anyone who's on the call.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that couldn't have been said more beautifully. And I want to just take a moment to really thank you for coming tonight and setting aside your time to share yourself with us and your knowledge and your expertise and your wonderful, warm, loving spirit. It's been such a pleasure to talk with you. And I also want to take a moment to just acknowledge everyone who's here on the call, because every single thing that we do where we're seeking some support or being curious and checking things out is really important, and I don't take it lightly. It's actually a really big deal. So also big, kudos to each and every one of you for being here and joining us tonight. It's so appreciated that you took time out of your evening to be with us. So thank you. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us at coach@rachaelgrantcoaching.com or carolinewday@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for the follow-up email that will have all of the good little nits and bolts, nitty-gritty about how to get in touch with Caroline, and also the recording of the call. And definitely stay in touch with me if there's any way that I can be of a support to you in your journey. Please don't hesitate to reach out. So until we cross paths again, take very good care of you. We'll see you all again soon. Good night now.
Thank you, Rachael, for this very special forum that you've created. I'm just thrilled that you gave me this opportunity, and your work is beautiful and it's blossoming, and it's just rich and lovely, and thank you so much for having me on.
You're very welcome. Awesome. Take care, everyone. See you again soon.
Bye.